Well, ladies and gentlemen, we finally have a 53-man roster for the Cowboys going into week one. Granted, there are some people that are injured and on certain asterisks on when they're going to return, which will change how the roster looks, but we know who's going to be on there, and let's go ahead and cover that so that now we know this is the team we have and just some initial expectations now that we have a full list of who's on the team. Now, before we get started, if you could do me a solid favor and like this video, it doesn't take too long to do, and it helps me perform better in YouTube's algorithm. On top of that, subscribe if you haven't done so already. It doesn't take too long to do, and I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers, so by doing so, that'd be greatly appreciated. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on content like this. Now, I understand that the Cowboys have also added a couple players, and they might add a few in the next coming days. So whatever I say here might end up changing. So I just want to add that caveat there. So let's go ahead and go in order from quarterbacks all the way to special teams. So quarterbacks, they got Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush. Now, they just added Will Grier from the Panthers. I would presume he's your third string guy. But overall, you're kind of riding on, hey, Dak better be healthy, or if not, you're screwed. So I think Cooper Rush was kind of like a weird come around when it comes to the roster. So I think that personally Garrett Gilbert should have had the job because I felt like he did the most consistently. But then again, we haven't seen Cooper Rush in a live, like him throwing the ball numerous times. I mean, he's only had one career completion. And usually when he came in, it was just handing the ball off. So if I'm the Cowboys, you better hope that Dak doesn't get hurt. There are plenty of guys out there that I would like to be a backup, but I don't think the Cowboys are going to go after him. So that means like guys like Cam Newton and stuff like that, who would be nice to be there in case Dak gets hurt. But I think the Cowboys are rolling with the three. So whatever happens, happens. Now running backs, the Cowboys got Zeke and Tony back there. Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. No shocker here. They added Corey Clement as their third running back, primarily for special teams. But I'm pretty sure we're well aware that Rico Dowdle, if he isn't hurt, he's your third running back. So I feel like when we get him next year, when he's fully healthy, he's, look, he's a lock for running back 3. So, I'm very excited about this running back room now that we have a bit more options. And, yeah, so there is that with the running backs. Now, tight ends, you got Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, and Sean McCann, whatever. Not a bad tight end room. I think that Schultz should be your number one guy, unless Jarwin has... they're both neck and neck. Whoever starts, I wouldn't be complaining about. I feel like that Schultz overall is the all-around better tight end, but that doesn't mean that Blake is a terrible tight end. I think that the Cowboys have two viable options to attack from the tight end position. And that's something you can't complain about. As for Sean, I really like how he performed this preseason. It sucks. And I'm looking at over here in my notes. I do believe he got hurt. Yeah, he has an ankle injury. So, he most likely comes back onto this roster. So someone will get cut in lieu of that. So exciting to see Sean really perform. A lot of people are like, he's just like one of those guys, but he's a solid tight end 3. Similar to that of Rico Dowdle. He's made a name for himself. Now, we get to the wide receivers, and you only got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson, Simi Fehoko, and Malik Turner right now. Because obviously, CD is on the COVID protocol, so he is most likely going to be back in the swing of things. And then Noah Brown's also in that protocol as well. So the other two guys in Simi and Malik might get pushed to the wayside if these two come back. Obviously, Simi making this roster, I feel like, is just a temporary move. He didn't really do a whole lot to be like, yeah, we need him on the roster. He didn't make a whole lot of noise in the preseason and camp, which is disappointing. I wish he would do better. So I think that Simi might be off the roster soon once CeeDee Lamb returns and Noah Brown returns. Malik Turner, I think that he's going to make it off the sheer fact of special teams ability. I mean, and I think Malik Turner did a lot to solidify his spot on the roster. Compared to that, if Simi did something similar to Malik Turner, we'd be having a completely different discussion. But unfortunately, Simi's that odd man out there. So when the other two return, we might see, him go to the wayside, and yeah. So then we have the offensive linemen, and so far there's 10 of them that the Cowboys are holding. So we have Tyron Smith, Tyler Biotish, Zach Martin, Lyle Collins, Ty Nishke, Connor McGovern, Brandon Knight, Terrence Steele, Matt Faranock, and Josh Ball. Now, Connor Williams is still in that COVID protocol, so obviously someone's going to end up getting cut. Who do I see? I mean, Ty honestly should be gone, and so should Terrence Steele, so one of the two, but you do need those tackles, so, that's a problem. You might end up, I think Brandon Knight honestly should be cut if, you're not wanting to cut one of the tackles, even though they didn't perform up to speed. Yeah, it just comes down to the fact that, look, Connor Williams is going to be back, and, I mean, there could be a possibility that the young guys get cut, or waived, I should say. But I personally feel that when Williams returns, I think that Brandon Knight should be on the chopping block. He didn't really do a whole lot this preseason. He's been, we thought he was going to be something of, note, but unfortunately that's where we're at. Now, that is it for the offensive side of the ball. Now we go to the defensive line, and currently you have DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, Neville Gallimore, Osa Odigizua, Dorrance Armstrong, Terrell Basham, Bradley Anai, Chauncey Goldstein, Brent Urban, and Quentin Bohanna. Now, that's cool that the young guys, and keep in mind, like, Osa and Big Bo have done a great job at making, a name for themselves, and it's something that we need to see on the defensive side of the ball. The young guys coming in and doing their part. As I take a look just to make sure that there wasn't any other defensive linemen that were, so we're, other than Carlos Watkins, the way I look at it, I think the Cowboys did very well with this defensive line. Your top two guys are Lawrence and Gregory, and then on the interior, until Neville returns, it's probably going to most likely be Osa and Bohanna, along with maybe Goldstein if you want to play him on the inside, and Brent Urban. You have those guys there, so Dallas isn't screwed, and it's more important just to triple check to see what's going on with Tristan Hill. He's still on the physically unable to perform, so I'm not sure if he comes back. That's another thing. He could be just a stash, but I mean, I'm okay with this. It really comes down to, can these younger interior guys fill their role? And that's going to end up being the main crux of that. So we go to linebacker. You got Micah Parsons, Keanu Neal, Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, Jabril Cox, Luke Gifford, Azur Kamara, and Francis Bernard. Now, what's interesting is the fact, and I'm going over all my information, how Kamara managed to be a part of this roster, and there isn't any other linebacker that's on that list. So, I mean, he really felt like, with what we've been seeing, I felt like that if they're going to play him at linebacker, now we're having a completely different topic of conversation. And him and Bernard could be one of those guys where if you have a guy coming back, they're gone. But again, it's as we're going through this, all the as of right now, all the defensive, or rather all the players of the 2021 draft class for Dallas are on the team. So I think that now you have options at linebacker, and that's awesome. So we just got to hope that those guys do their part. Now we switch over to cornerback. You got Trevon Diggs, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, Kelvin Joseph, Nashawn Wright, Maurice Canaday, and C.J. Goodwin. In terms of that group, I feel that we're solid, but we could do better. I think that you have guys like Maurice Canaday and Nashawn Wright that really made a name for themselves in the preseason, so and in training camp. As for Kelvin Joseph, he just has to continue to get better, which I think he will. And look, these are, again, it's the same thing like the defensive line. You have young guys that need to step in and do their part. And can they? Sure. But it's a wait and see type of situation. So, and no other guys on the, like, physically underperforming and stuff like that. So, there's that. Now, we get to safety, and this is the interesting part. You got Donovan Wilson, Jaron Curse, Malik Hooker, and Israel Mukwamo. Damontae Kazee is still on the COVID list, so I expect him to come back. Now, whose spot does he take? It's really hard to tell. Because as I'm looking at it here, and it's really tough. Because as we look at this, and I'm pulling up the reserve list and stuff like that, do the Cowboys carry 5 safeties? I feel like that you could see a linebacker get cut. I mean, that's a possibility. But yeah, I mean, I think that Izzy did a great job in the preseason towards the end, being that Swiss Army knife type of guy in the defense to really make a name for himself. Malik Hooker, I think, now, out of those who's starting, I'm a personal believer that you could see Donovan Wilson and Damontae Kazee start, and that's until Malik Hooker really... And Malik Hooker was pretty pedestrian, and then again, he didn't really get a chance to start in a good chunk of the games, and really I didn't see much from him. Not saying that's a bad thing, but we'll see. And then as for your kicker and punter, you got Brian Anger and Greg Zuerlein. Nothing too particular here. We already know what we're getting in Greg Zuerlein. So far, he's impressed. He's done his job, so I'm not going to complain there. Brian Anger, is he an upgrade over Hunter Nicewander and Chris Jones? I wouldn't know, because honestly, we haven't seen him in a real, in terms of like full-on football real games. I mean, he's solid, and I feel like that's what you just need. You just need them to do their job, which I think they can. And then as for the future, like the reserve future, you got TJ Vasher, so... No, so either way, I think that even with going through the position evaluations and making that determination, I'm a full believer that this squad is most likely in a... they're a playoff team. As for a deep playoff run, I don't know. In terms of a deep playoff run, I mean, like, if they're a wild card, can they get to the NFC Championship game, or can they get to the Super Bowl? And I think they have the ability to win 2 playoff games if they're lucky. But that's where I stand right now. So it's not an A-plus roster. I feel like it's more of a B to B-plus roster. A team that's good enough to make the playoffs if everything, if no one gets hurt, obviously. But even if some guys get hurt, I still feel like the Dallas has a team that can get them there. They had a weak division to go through. That's going to be tough because, the NFC East likes to be a pain in the ass sometimes. But that's where I stand. So I think that this is a solid roster. So with that being said, in the next video, I'll be doing my, or rather, I'm going to probably do it live or video. If you reach the end, tell me, should I live stream my predictions? And I might do that, because I haven't really been live streaming a whole lot. And we'll talk about, how I feel about this season now that we got a final 53. So, alrighty, boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, everybody, I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.